Okay, we are back for the final question, question 4 for the 2026 CSA FRQ. So for this one, very similar to the last one, we're given two different classes. This first one is the space class, which is basically going to represent spaces on a game board. So we get some methods, get color, and get points. That's basically just going to return an integer and a string back for us to use. The method that we care about in particular is going to be the game board class. So it has an instance variable that has a 2D array of spaces, so that class up above. And we are going to actually be implementing this get points for row method. It gives us a few preconditions. We can assume no elements are null. The board has at least 2 rows and at least 2 columns. And the target row we're given is a valid index, target row being the parameter that's passed in. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to essentially when an element of the 2D array is accessed, the first index is used to specify the row, second is used to specify the column. So they tell us that explicitly. And it says that get points for row should return the point value of the spaces in the row specified by the parameter target row. And it tells us how we can go about calculating that. So the point value of a row is determined as follows. If not all of the spaces in the row are the same color, then the point value for the row is the sum of the points in the row. If all of the spaces in that row are the same color, the point value for the row is going to be 2 times the sum of the points in the row. And it gives us an example here. If we call get points for row, so this row 0 here, notice that the colors are all different. So what this would mean is that we are just going to sum the total. But if we call it for this one, row 2, all of the colors are the same. We're going to sum all of these and then multiply it by 2. So this is going to be how we implement this method. So let's take a look at how we can go about doing that. Okay, so for this one, we need to first keep track of a variable that's going to give us our sum, right? So we can simply do that by just setting an integer equal to 0. This is going to give us our sum. And then we need some sort of Boolean, right? Essentially what we're going to try to do is keep track of when the colors are all the same and when they are different. So easiest way we can do that is with a Boolean. We can call it same color, and we can actually just assume by default that that is true. So notice that we don't necessarily know what the colors can be. The colors are arbitrary, so we can't really hand pick colors. We need to kind of keep track of a current color and a previous color. So the colors will just be defined as strings. So if we keep track of a current color, where we can just specify the target row that we're given and 0, so this is going to be essentially that first value. And we can call get color because this is going to give us a space. And what I'll actually do is just copy and paste this. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to call this previous color, right? So this is going to be how we can actually keep track to see if they are different. So from here, what we're going to do is just loop through the actual columns. Notice that the row will never change, so we don't actually need to do a nested for loop. So here we can specify the target row, right? The actual column is going to be what's updating. And we're going to go through essentially, So here we go. The length, right? And then from here, we can update the actual column. So here, what we're actually going to be doing is grabbing the length of that first target row, and then we're going to be grabbing the length of that. So we don't actually need to specify like this C here, because we don't care about that. We just want the actual length of this entire row, because that's where we're going to iterate through. Now, what we need to do for here, we need to grab what the current color is. This way, we will actually be specifying the target row here, and then we will be specifying C, so we can actually get the space, that class that was defined up above, and we're just going to call get color on it. So this is going to give us the current color. Now, for this, notice that in both cases, either the case where the colors were different or the colors were the same, right? We still needed the sum. So that doesn't really change. So we are going to calculate the sum regardless. Same way, C, instead of calling get color, we're going to call get points, right? So this is going to get us the number of points. This is going to allow us to calculate the actual sum that we're going to use later. So if we decide here that the current color that we have defined, if that is not equal to the previous color, right, we are going to set same color equal to false, right? Another way to say this is if current color is not equal to previous color. So if this was equal to false, either way works, whichever one is easier for you. And then at the end, every loop, we're simply going to update previous color to be what the value of current color used to be. Because then the next iteration, we're going to update current color. So to start, they are going to be the same because there is no previous color before the first. But on the second iteration, previous color will be what current color used to be. So we'll stay this, but current color will actually update when we actually go through and check it. Now, once this loop concludes, same color will either have stayed true, right, by our default, or it would have updated to be false. In the case where same color was true, right, then we are going to actually multiply that sum by 2. And in the case where it was false, we are just going to return that sum as is. So this is going to be the only difference, this piece. Either way, we needed to calculate the sum, but we just need to keep track of a Boolean to give us an idea of when we need to multiply it by 2. So this is going to be question 4 for the 2026 FRQ. Hopefully you guys were able to get something close, if not the correct answer. Like I said, there are tons of different ways to get to the same answer. So there's a high percentage chance that you did yours completely different from mine, and that is completely okay. So let me know how you guys did, and I will see you guys next time.